And joining us now with more is Jordan Sekulow of the American Center for Law and Justice. Jordan, we've been hearing the justices showed signs of leaning towards striking down the individual mandate. What's your analysis on that?
You know, it's interesting. I think there were a couple. I was at the court yesterday, and the first 2 days I've been inside the courtroom. And a lot of people were expecting it to be slightly more academic when it comes to the individual mandate, especially Justice Kennedy and Chief Justice Roberts. But what we saw instead was a real just negative reaction. Some people called it almost a train wreck into what this would be. And I think we played the sound bites that the Justice Kennedy saying that this would fundamentally alter the relationship between citizens and their government. And then he would keep asking you, what are the limits? There's no limiting principle here. This would be it. This would be a totally new government power. That was not what those who support the law were expecting it to be. And it started right off the bat just like that. And the Solicitor General of the United States, who's defending the law in court, didn't really have a good answer for Justice Kennedy on what would the limits of congressional power be anymore. It was kind of like all of us who were concerned about this law and had talked about this over the last 2.5 years, almost 3 years. All of those concerns were brought up in court yesterday by justices of the Supreme Court.
Wow. Well, some in the media say that Chief Justice John Roberts may actually be President Obama's best hope of winning this case. Do you agree with that?
Well, there is this discussion that Chief Justice Roberts, and I think it'd have to be along with Justice Kennedy, were looking for answers from the Solicitor General, from the Obama administration that they did not get in the briefs. You know, the briefs that are filed are very important. Chief Justice Roberts was citing those throughout, especially when it comes to the Obama administration. There's a great oral argument given by Paul Clement. So I think the Obama administration has a much tougher hill to climb now than anyone expected going into this case on some of the fundamental questions. Basically, again, I think if they can't figure out their own answers now, and that's difficult for a justice, Chief Justice Roberts, Justice Kennedy together would have to come up with how does this power get limited? How do you limit this power so that they're not coming every year saying, oh, well, this is unique, so we need to do this individual mandate and have a penalty with it. And so I understand. I think that's those who are really hoping to see some good out of the oral arguments yesterday. But if you're for this law, it was a very bad day for the Obama administration, and people have called it, you know, disastrous train wreck.
Indeed. Well, if the court does strike down the individual mandate, what are the chances they would still leave the rest of the law intact?
Yeah, that's what's at stake today at the U.S. Supreme Court. I think whatever happens there, this is the funding mechanism. So Congress, if they said the mandate goes, but the rest of the law, most of the provisions stay, the Obama administration has said they don't think that the condition involving pre-existing conditions, that would have to be removed. So let's say those two parts are taken out. Congress would still have to figure out how to fund this. What did we get from the court yesterday? You could raise taxes, but what do we know about Congress, especially the House of Representatives? Even if President Obama is reelected and the Senate stays Democrat, the House of Representatives stays Republican, they're not going to do a tax increase to save President Obama's health care law. So I think just by striking the mandate, it really is the end of Obamacare. But what's at issue is whether or not the whole law is unconstitutional, or can the administration go back to Congress and try to save any parts of it. And I think it's very difficult to make that case if you believe that the whole economic mechanism that keeps this alive is unconstitutional.
Wow. Well, Jordan Sekulow, thanks for being on top of it. We thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.